Welcome, everyone. This is our next installment in a series that we're doing, ClubExpress webinars. And the webinars vary a bit. The first Wednesday of the month, we're doing an overview, an introduction to ClubExpress, and that's usually done by our sales team. And today, Bob Rosenthal is going to be doing this overview. And this overview in particular is going to highlight some of the features for the way ClubExpress is used in professional and trade associations. We'll do these basic introductions, then Bob will do a demonstration, and then we'll have some Q&A. Just a little housekeeping. When you come into the session, the phones are muted. And so if you have questions along the way when Bob is demonstrating, feel free to unmute your microphone and ask a question. For those of you who have associates that are not on this call, we are actually recording the call. If you go to the clubexpress.com homepage and click on this really very important page called Resources. And Resources has a few things on it that are important. We have a section for blogs, and I've been writing a couple of blogs and talking about the webinar series and videos and such. Down here is the webinar schedule. So we have the webinar we did about 2 weeks ago and the upcoming webinars. And at the bottom, we have the recorded webinars. The webinars are broken up into a couple of different pieces: overviews and functions. Functions are about specific things like the survey module, the blogs module, and overviews are typically either general introductions or functional. How you might use ClubExpress to facilitate a bicycle rally event. And this way you talk about the event calendar and custom pages and signing up and things like that. But if you want to just see recent webinars, you click over here and you can see the recordings of all the recent webinars. And as far as the formal tutorials go that aren't in webinar format, you can either see them by going to the video tutorials page and looking again, like I just published one on Ad-Hoc Forms and managing and editing the homepage, or you can go to your control panel in ClubExpress, and on the support tab is exactly the same list. Bob, why don't you just chat about this list a little bit, then share your screen.
Okay. So as we go through this, and I notice some of you on the call I've been talking to recently, we're going to go through, and this is a guideline as more than it is a hard list. I want to talk about the website itself, how it's designed, how you configure it, what you can do with the website. But more than that, as we get into it, I want to talk about the functionality itself, how membership works, how renewal works, how members can find each other using the directory, how the calendar works, event scheduling. I want to talk about volunteering because we haven't talked about that on I believe any of the webinars we've done so far. We've just touched on it, and specifically how it ties into the event calendar. I love talking about blast emailings because I think that it's a great tool that we've got in here that a lot of associations and clubs use external resources for. Just touch on photos, on committees, on documents, which we tend to do on most of our webinars. But what we've not done on any of these to date is talk about chapters. And there are a lot of associations that are national in scope, state in scope. And I want to talk about how we support ClubExpress. And I'll show you one of the two models that we use. Throughout that, we'll talk about, you can interject with any questions you have. I'm happy to answer them as I go. All right, so this is a generic professional association. And as you see on here, we are not logged in. I'll talk about the structure of this just briefly. Our websites and every one of the association clubs we work with uses at least part of us for their website. We recommend that, and it's part of what people pay for with us. You get a public and a members-only website, an administrative tool within that website. It's all one. Unlike other association and club management systems, there's one tool that's used for everything. So you don't have separate logins, separate websites for administrators. It's all done through permissions. But these are designed, there are templates in the system that you can use to design it. We can design it using the templates, or we can customize anything. And if you've got skills on programming, the programming skills to be able to do CSS design, we give you the ability to create your own website with any design you want. So what you're looking at is a typical screen. We've got some type of a logo up on top, links to social media, a member login button, some type of a public menu. Again, we're not logged in, and this is going to change when we log in. Here we've got an image. This association has a conference coming up, which we'll look at as we get in here. I did mention there are chapters, and we'll talk about those, and this talks about where they are. Then there are other things down on bottom. We've got a poll that we've published results for. We're not going to get into surveys unless someone asks a question about it. But we can do full surveys like you would do with something like SurveyMonkey or an individual poll question, one question you might put on the homepage, and then we can publish results later. This is pulling from our event calendar, those things that are shown on the public menu because we're not logged in, and then links to other things. But you can design the page however you want. So I don't want to get hung up on the design too much. There are a number of custom pages we've built. And I want to delineate what I mean by custom page versus the modules. A custom page is strictly content. It explains who you are. It explains your philosophy. It might be a biography of someone on your leadership team. So, for example, here is a link to the mission of the association, which is also, we can get to through here. Philosophy of the association. These are just content pages. They may have images. They may have links to other things. I also have a page for membership. Now, we can just do a Join Now button, which is here, which would bring up the module, not a custom page, but a module that allows people to join under different membership types. You can have as many membership types as you want. But in this case, I build a page that explains the value. Why do you want to join? How do we believe? What do we do? What do we believe in? What do we offer our members? The different categories of members. And I've embedded the Join Now button on this page rather than showing it separately. All right. Notice there's a donations button. If you're a not-for-profit, you take donations. Clearly, you would show that on the home page. The event calendar I'll show you once we get in. I do want to highlight one thing I'll come back to, and that's the Contact Us page. Now, this looks pretty standard for Contact Us page until you get to the bottom. One of the clear differentiators for ClubExpress over other association and club management platforms is we provide your technical support. So the phone number down here actually rings to us, not to you. Anyone's got a problem, they have a question about how to do something on the website. We do have a password reset utility, but they don't want to do it. They want us to reset the password for them. Those calls will come to us. You don't need to take those calls. So I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in as someone named Martin Smith. And you will immediately see once I log in that Martin's name now appears where the member login button is. Simply speaking, the $sign lets Martin know subtly that he's got an open balance. So if I hover over his name, we're going to see a link to his profile, which I'll show you in a moment, but you also see that he's got a payment due. So he can click on that and it will bring him to a page where he can make payment. Now, what I'm not going to do on this demonstration I did last time is walk through how people join, but I will show you in the back end of the system. Now, this is the control panel. The control panel gives administrators access to everything, and I want to briefly give you an overview of what this is and what we call administrators. We try to make this as simple as possible. There are 6 tabs on this. 5 of them have to do with managing the association day to day. And each one of these tabs does exactly what it says. The People tab only has to do with the people that are in your database. Managing the people, what you display to them, what their interests are, what forums they belong to, so on and so forth. Website has to do with the design, what you display. Money are all your financial transactions, your bank accounts, your donation activity. The association, or we can change this to be if you're a society, a club, a village, whatever you are, there are multiple options for what we can put here, has to do with how you do business. And lastly, and I'll talk about support at the end, communications is emailing and blogging and forums, how you communicate with people. Each one of these is set up the same way. To make it simple, there are three boxes on here. Administrative functions, and you can enable or disable any of these if you use them or you don't want to use them. And by the way, of the thousands of groups that work with us, nobody uses every module in our system. So you can enable or disable a module just by making it active here by checking the box, or you can disable it completely. So administrative functions are on top. Those are the things you would do to manage the association regularly. Reporting is a box that follows that. We will touch on a couple reports as we go through here. There are over 400 in the system, canned reports out of the box that have multiple options on them. Going through them would take much longer than we have in time. And then setup is on bottom. Your options, configuring member types, building out the website, setting up your donation and financial accounts, setting up your email platform. All of that's done down here, and you would use this initially when we set things up, or if you make some fundamental change down the road.
Okay. Yaakov unmuted his microphone. Yaakov, do you have a question?
Okay, you showed us administration function. Now in associations, can a member do the same thing for himself or only the administrator?
Oh, this is accessible only by administrators. So you have to have the permission as an administrator. I'm going to talk about, there are actually, Yaakov, several levels of administrator. There's a lot here.
My question is, if somebody adds himself like a member to the association, can he control how he wants to communicate, like via email or telephone or both or something, or no?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I understand your question. So let me answer that by showing you this. As you configure membership, there are only a few things that need to be done. They need to choose a member type, and you'll see these are grayed out. They need to enter their contact information. They need to create a username and password, and then they get a summary, which would include a payment page if the membership has a fee associated with it. But there are optional things that can be done. So one of the things that I'm not planning on going over, if you want to see, we can touch on it, is a survey module. So we replicate much of what something like SurveyMonkey does, and we leverage that in many different places throughout the system, one of them being here. So if you want to ask a member or a prospective member a question, how do you want to be communicated with? That would be enabled here. So by checking this, I can create any question I want to ask members I want. Now, if a member wants to communicate with you, that's done either through the Contact Us page, where you would have, how you want people to communicate. You may have several different email boxes set up that would hide your email address and allow them to communicate with you. Or if they want to communicate with a committee, there's always a send email to members button. Now, typically you would not show their private email address, but they could send things. And there are other ways where they can communicate across each other, which I'll talk about as we get into this. But I wanted to show you the setup wizard because rather than going through an actual setup of a membership type, of a new member, just show you the things you've done. So you can ask them as many questions as you want. You can make them mandatory. You can make them optional. And there are about 30 different answer types that we support. Multiple choice, multiple pick, small text, short text boxes, long text boxes, drop down, radio button, sliding scales, interests. So if you're a professional medical association and you want to know what their specialty is, are they an oncologist, are they a pediatrician, are they a pediatric hematologist, are they a neurologist, they can check those off as interests and they can be searchable by others based on that. If you enable chapters or you allow them to put secondary or third level members on the accounts, and I'm not going to go into detail on those in this, but you can have multiple people on an account with each with their own logins. If you have a first-year joining agreement, joining fee, an initiation fee, we'll call it, or you want to allow them to make a donation as part of their membership, or signing a joining agreement, which may include a waiver of liability if you do things that are risky, like you're a sports association. Those are all things that can be done that are optional. All right. Now, the member manager allows you to find your members. So here, I've got a list of active members in here, and we've got also, and I may have to go to different pages, expired members, prospective members. All of these have different meanings in the system. If I want to just see my expired members, I can search on that. I only have one in here. Here's a person that expired back in March. If I want to just see my active members, then I can filter it that way. This is set up, though, with chapters. So if I want to see those people that are in my Iowa chapter, here are the people in my Iowa chapter. You notice these all have Iowa, well, the addresses may be in different places, but these are all members of the Iowa chapter. Okay, all right. So that's, essentially membership. Now let's briefly...
Bob,
go ahead.
Before you jump ahead, Camilla has a question. Can the gender be optional rather than required?
Yes.
All right. And or can you just remove the field altogether?
Yeah, so there are different options that are available. So I just did this quickly, so I want to back up. Under Setup, every one of these tabs has an option for that tab in setting up how it works. So, for example, in this one, because it's a professional association, this one we've set as a default that anyone can submit an application for membership, but they're not automatically approved. The board of directors has to approve it before they're actually invoiced and become an actual member. You can set the default to no. If you allow them to just join, if they make payment, they're accepted into the association or club. But as we scroll down, do you want to capture gender? If I say no to that, it will not appear. I can ask for birth date if I want. I can require or not require email address. And there are other options that are in here beyond that. So there are a number of options that allow you to either display or not display things, require or not. And understand that the more you require, the more fields there are they have to fill in, the less likely they are to complete the application without abandoning it. All right, I just wanted to touch on non-member database. So one of the things that's included in here, along with members, and I only have one in here, I should add more, are non-members. So people that register for an event that are not members, people that sign up for your mailing list, people that make a donation that are not members. The system automatically captures and stores them in here, so you can market to them and ask them later to become members or invite them to paid events. Invite them to make another donation. And that can all be done through different methods throughout the system. We'll talk about email as one of them as we get there. All right. I'm going to go from here actually back into one of the custom pages. I'm going to go to this one. All right. So here is the custom page I built on why you should join this professional association. Now, off to the right here, and this can be displayed in different ways, is a widget that follows us. Now, one of the ways, if you don't like this, we can hide it off to the side, and when you hover over it, it'll pop out. There's a question mark on top. You can print the page. You can make the type larger. This will take you to the top of the page. This pencil, though, is only visible to administrators that have access to this. I'm going to click on that, and it's a shortcut to the content editor where this was built. So I used these boxes so that it spaces appropriately. So here, rather than having to go into the HTML, and this is junk to me, I know nothing about computer programming. This allows it to space appropriately, and if you're on a mobile device, when we go from horizontal to vertical, these will stack rather than go across, so it'll display correctly. Right? This is just text using an editor that works like Microsoft Word. All right, this is just an image that was inserted. All right. Now, this Join Now button, I'm going to insert another box. So we allow you, without having to know how to create a hyperlink, there is a link here. Where is it? Where's my hyperlink? There. that allows us to either link out to something within the site itself or go to an external page. If I want to link out to another website, like ClubExpress, and I'm just going to do this simply. We'll just do that. And my link is built. So I don't have to know anything about coding in order to do this. Okay. All right. Now, so that's content pages. The rest of this, and I'd mentioned mobile responsive, everything on our site is responsive to any mobile device you're on. So if you pull up clubexpress.com or you pull up any one of our clients on a mobile phone or a tablet, it will display correctly.
By the way, Bob, one of the things that I'm sure you're going to touch on a little later, but it's particularly relevant to content pages, custom pages, and maybe some documents, is that not only do administrators have the ability to edit these items, but you can specify coordinators. And sometimes the coordinators for a particular module where they could do all web pages, and some of them you can get down to the individual item that they're allowed to administer.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. That is something I'm gonna get to as we go forward. I'm gonna actually show that. I want to shift here to the event calendar for a moment. So notice here there are different things on here, and I'm gonna show this in a couple different ways. So here is a board meeting, and this is for the top level association, the main national organization or international organization. There's a regional conference, which you saw on the homepage. There's a Minnesota chapter board meeting, there's an Iowa chapter board meeting, and there's a continuing education committee meeting. And we'll talk about all these things. So let's look at a simple event for a moment that's this board meeting. Right? So it's held at a place called Chewy's Tex-Mex, and I've got some images I uploaded here of the restaurant. Here's a location, a link to their website, a link to a Google map. Notice registration's not required. And there's no button here that requires someone to register. There's simply an add to a calendar button. This downloads an ICS file which you can import into your Google Calendar, or your Outlook calendar, or the other calendars that you're using. But it doesn't require registration. Let's touch on help before I go any further. So we are, I believe, the only club and association management company that handles this way. Any page you're on our website, rather than bringing up a help search engine, we actually have our programmers hard code help to the page you're on. If you're on an event registration page, we make the assumption if you click help, that's what you need help with. So we don't make you search for it. Help event view. Use this screen to register for an event, and it walks you through how to do it. Right? And this also works, and I'm going to go to a shortcut here for the administrators to get to the back end, the event manager. If I click the question mark here, notice now we're in help for event manager. Use this screen to manage the items on your calendar. This has got video tutorials, multiple ones, and then instructions here. Let's go back to events. And I'm actually going to walk through the registration for this real fast. Now, as I go here to the regional conference, notice now we do have a registration button. Notice there's a registrants button, which is optional. You don't have to display this. But if I click on this, I can allow my members to see who is registered for this already. You can see if they're a member or a non-member. I can make this visible. I can make it invisible, not show the button. I can show my members only. If a non-member goes and hits this, they won't see that button. There's a volunteering button that's tied to this, which I'm going to show you before I walk through the registration. So we fully support volunteering. You can have standalone volunteering items, or you can tie them back to an event. So if Martin wants to volunteer to help with the check-in desk, here's the phone number he wants to do. He's going to handle the 8 to 12 on the 18th, the first day of the event. Gives him a confirmation. He can finish. And notice now that 6 spots before has gone down to 5. So it tracks what's available. So let's go back to my event. And there's your full reporting on that. and let's register. Martin, being an administrator, can sign up other people. So I'm going to actually let's do this for himself since he's not registered. So this is how any member would register. Actually, I'm going to show you one thing before I do it. So if I click this non-member, and this is what a non-member would see on the outside if they went to register for the event. Although up here you see search non-member database. If they've registered for an event before, if they've made a donation before, they're in the database, I said. Now Martin is going to click this, is going to allow him to search for them. If a non-member goes and registers and they've registered before, there's something that says find yourself in the database, and it'll bring up enter your first name and your email address. It will find and it will fill this on their behalf. All right, and notice this now says non-member down here. The reason that's important is there's different pricing on this for members and non-members. But this is optional, something you can include in here if you want. You can have them add guests. So they can add a guest by entering their information, or if they're part of a company that has additional members that are part of the company, Martin's not, they can select them here. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do that. This particular one has multiple activities that are part of it. So here is a concurrent session. You can choose one or the other. I'm going to select this first one, the Promise Zone project, whatever that is. And they have 3 options for dinner that night. And these are, they don't have to attend. Notice there's an extra fee. Let's choose Harry and Izzy's. All right, go next. Now, because I've chosen the dinner, and it wouldn't do this if I hadn't selected it, it wants to know my entree selection. So if I don't like beef, I want chicken, and I'm on a low sodium diet, I can put this in here and you can provide it as a report to the chef. Brings me a summary of my charges. We've got the $5.97, $50 for the dinner. When I complete the registration, notice here, he not only owes for this event registration, he hasn't paid for this golfing event. So Martin can now pay for one, which shows the $647, and he's got actually a credit on here of $1,736. I didn't know that. So he's showing a net payment of 0. We can do this, $1,346, he still is in net payment. So it will handle any miscellaneous credits you've got on the account. I didn't know that was there, so that's actually showing you something that I didn't plan on showing you. So he's done. He can then print a receipt. And this is also available in his profile. He's done. If he didn't have that credit, it would bring him to a payment page, which would give him the options, and you've got your choice here. There are 3 payment methods with us. We handle credit cards, we handle PayPal, and they can print an invoice and send a check. And you can enable or disable any of those. Right. Now, as an administrator, if I want to see who's registered, I can go in here. These are all individual registrants. No one has registered more than 1 on this. They are all paid in full. Actually, this one's not. So Roger has not paid, and if he shows up at the event with a check or a credit card, we can go in here and handle the payment. Now, notice that credit card and PayPal are not shown here. Quick funny story. In these demonstration sites, we give out logins to everybody for these. If you want to log in later, you can. We've actually had people put in their credit card information. This is live. This is the real website. This is the real platform. You're going to get charged if you put your credit card in, so please don't. And we've turned that off just in case, so we don't have that happen anymore. All right. The other thing in here that can be done is your administrators can check people in. Now, there are 2 ways we can do this. I do not have a barcode scanner set up on my computer. But you can actually just, if you've got membership cards with a barcode, they can scan themselves in. They're done. Or I can bring up a list while I'm there. If I've got an iPad or a laptop, I can check off those people that have shown up, and they're now marked as attended. So if you're providing continuing education credits for this, or you want to follow up with them later on if they've attended, you've got a list of everyone that's attended. So if I go and pull a report now that shows all meeting attendees, it will show those people, this takes a second, it will show those people that we just checked off. Now, we're not applying attendance credit on these, so I didn't set this up for continuing education credits. Okay. Now, I'm not going to run through everything on this, but there are, as you saw, a number of reports here. If I want to see all my registration details, it's going to bring up everything, the answers to their questions, what events they've registered, what activities they've registered for. If I just want to see who's registered, if I want to print out name tags for when they show up with the company, I want to see who's paid, who hasn't paid, all of that is in here. There's a boatload of reports. Now I'm going to go into emailing. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to events here in a moment and show you how chapters operate. So as an administrator, if I've got access to email and I've got access to events, I can come here. Now there are a number of out-of-the-box templates that are built into the system. These are all modifiable. These, you can change the branding on this so it matches your colors, your logos. Here we've got a message from the president with someone's picture on it. That's easily replaced. In fact, I'm going to grab this. You can create your own templates, or we can do that for you. Now, without asking the question, I'm sure some of you on the phone have used Mailchimp or Constant Contact before. We replicate 99% of what they do, and we offer more. So here, we can categorize what this is. You can create whatever categories you want. You can report on these later on. And you can actually say, I want all my letters from the president to show up on a page on my website. So they're easily trackable and you can find them, your members can find them. Send them from whoever you want. You can schedule it to go out. I'm going to send this out about the meeting. And I'm going to check these two boxes. Track opens and personalization allowed. And I'll explain that in a second. Now this is a simple wizard, right? So right now it's telling me my basics are done. We've got a check mark there. These are the things that we just filled out. But it's saying, warning, you don't have a distribution list. So if I check on that, it says check on this edit icon to create one. Now I don't have any in here, but you might save a distribution list once you've created it for future use. But notice the system's smart enough to know I came from an event. So if I want to say, I want to send an email to everyone that's registered for this event, it's done. With an external email system, you would have to export from this system into a CSV file saying, here are all the people that are registered. I may want to manipulate it in some way, upload it into Mailchimp, and then create my email and send it out. No need to do that. It's done. In fact, the first 6 on here all have to do with the event that I came from. Right. And by the way, the system will, so these are, say, active members not registered, active members, non-members who've not registered. I can automate emails for them. So I can send out a few emails before the event reminding them about it, reminding them to register, or reminding them to attend automatically without having to do this. So I'm going to take this out. Now let's pretend for a moment I did not come from an event. This is actually, if I went into the email system directly, it would start with all active solo and primary members. But I can get more refined than that. So if I want to say, I only want to send my gold members an email, and I want to include members of the membership committee and members of the education committee. And I want to send these out to any non-member in my database that's attended an event before. Now, these are the out-of-the-box ones. You can get more refined than this by creating others. But notice that my list is now being created on the fly without having to manipulate any spreadsheet at all. And I mentioned I can save this as a predefined list. This actually saves as a query. What I mean by that is today, this is static. Today, if I send this out, it's sending out to whoever, as of today, are in these categories. But if I save this list as my test one, all right, the distribution list is created. I'll come back to that. And I'm going to come back to what that means. Finally, personalization. I can tag this. So I can pull fields from the database so everyone's personalized. I can say, Dear John, thank you for being this member type, a gold member since this date. Want to remind you your expiration date is such and such. Please renew at least 60 days before then. I can customize every one of these and personalize it to them. Let's go back to distribution list for a moment. And notice now this test one I created is saved. So 6 months from now, if I want to use this, the people that are in this distribution list may be different. So the people that are my gold members, I may have some new gold members in there, and some may have dropped. Some may have upgraded or downgraded. Some may no longer be members. Those people that were non-members that attended events before may now be members. And my committees, I may have a completely different committee structure. So it will pull the list. This saves as a query. If I pull it 6 months from now, the list may be completely different than it is today. And there's full reporting on the back end of this. This is another thing we've had to disable for reasons I won't go into. If you were to blast emails out of here, you can then see later how many of those were opened, how many were not opened, how many bounced. We're fully compliant with the Canned Spam Act, so anyone that unsubscribes, you'll know it'll suppress those from going out, and you'll see those here. But you can see that on a high level, or you can drill down to an individual email to say that, you know, bob@clubexpress.com opened the email on this date, and you can get more specifics on that. Now I'm going to log out for a minute. All right. And I'm going to log back in as a member of the Iowa chapter. And I want you to see what happens. So now we've got Carol Ackerman up here, and notice there's no control panel link, right? It's missing because Carol is not an administrator of the site. She doesn't have access to any of those back-end tools. Now, I talked about chapters earlier, and I said we were going to touch on this. So first off, we can display your chapters, if you've got chapters, as a map. So here, we've got individual chapters. This brings me to their web page, or I can get to it a different way. There are 2 in the Chicago area. There are 3 in this area here. So as I can drill into them and get closer. But if I want to go into the Iowa chapter, they have their own pages. This model is set up so that the national level or international association is the website. And each chapter has pages that are secure to them that hang off the website. So as I go down to the side, they have their own menu off to the side here. And when I click on the committees, what I'm going to see is the Iowa Board of Directors, and I'm going to see the national level committees. But I'm only going to see Iowa. I'm not going to see those in other chapters. In fact, if she goes to the Minnesota chapter and clicks on committees, she sees Iowa because she's not a member of the Minnesota chapter. So your members can only get at, and your administrators of those chapters can only get at their chapter information. Now when I go to their calendar, where's my calendar? Okay. Notice that I've got their chapter board meeting here and nothing else is displaying because this is their chapter calendar. All right. Up here, they still have access to all your national information. All right, but she can't, I don't know what happens here. She can't register for this because she's not a member of Minnesota. She can see it, but she can't register for it. All right. If I were to go in, I could log in as someone from another chapter, you'd see the same thing. Now, Alan, I'm going to come back to your question earlier. All right, so we're logging back in as Martin, and here's that control panel link again. So I'm going to go into the Association tab, and first thing I'm going to say is I can scroll down on bottom here to the options. I can call it, I can change that to whatever I want. So if you're a Chamber of Commerce, we can say that. If you're an agency, if you're a community, if you're a federation, we can name it whatever you want. Now, in this website, we have one full administrator, Martin. So when Martin logs in, he has access to everything. But if I were to log in as one of these people, and I don't have logins for them written down, I should have, each one of these people only has access to certain things. So let's look at Kelly Adamson. Kelly Adamson can print mailing labels. She can create and add photo albums and upload photos. She can upload information and maintain the document library, and she can do things with the communications module. So when she clicks on that control panel, those are the only things she's going to see. She's not going to see anything on these reports. She's not going to see anything on the money tab at all.
And she'll get the appropriate edit icon on that Page Tools widget on the right side on anything that she has the rights to administer.
Correct, but Alan, she won't even see those other things. So she'll get the edit icon, but if I go to control panel here, if she has access to member manager and non-member database, she will not see quick member lookup, check-in desk, subgroup. None of this will be even visible to her.
That's correct. That's from the control panel side. But if she's looking at documents, for example, and she's a coordinator of the document library, then she would get the Page Tools widget. You get an icon in the widget for any of those things that you have the rights to administer.
Right. Absolutely correct. Right. So this here is the Executive Council at the national level. Right? And I can go into any of their profiles and I can see what they've allowed me to see. And what's important about this is this. Let's go into the document library. So there's chapter document folders. So we can handle as many folders as you want. Folders, subfolders, sub-subfolders. Now here's a National Board of Directors folder. Now off here, again, if I click on this, this is going to show information on documents and how you use the document library. And the pencil here gets me to the back end. And what I want to show you on this is this. So we hover over the board of directors, the National Board of Directors, and I look at the way the folder was set up. Actually, this was set up wrong. I want to make this available only to the Executive Council. So the only people that would see that folder are people that are on that in that committee, and that's it. Nobody else even sees that, with one exception. Martin, being a full administrator of the website, has access to everything. Right? So if you as a board of directors want to have your own folder where you share information across each other, you can do that. And we can secure it, as you saw, in a number of different ways. I think this is a different one. Okay. So you can secure it to any of the committees that are out here. If I want to secure it to the Chicago Board of Directors, the Education Committee, you can do that. I can make it available to all users, public only. And by the way, if I make it available to the public and I display it to the public, I can have documents that are not available to the public in there. Members only, members of the committee, members of a subgroup, which are the chapters, and administrators only. Now, Alan, you mentioned uploads. So you can allow uploads of anyone that has access to the folder. They can upload documents. You can upload them with approval. So whoever's responsible for that folder has to approve it before it's actually posted, or only admins can upload. So I'll just show one other thing, and that's the support tab. So, Alan, when you did your introduction and you went over everything, you showed on our website this image. So those same links to recent videos, and the different, what do we call these? These are
those are tutorial videos.
Tutorials, thank you. Tutorial videos are all here. And there are probably 100 of them or more in here. And these are 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 9 minutes, 13 minutes. These are brief videos on how to do anything in the control panel. Now, we provide phone support and email support to your administrators, or frankly, anyone using your website. You saw that on the contact us page. But if you want to learn this on your own without having to engage us, go ahead and click on this and it'll play on your computer. You can get to most of these through YouTube or our website also. As we scroll down on here, there's also an administrator forum that's used by all administrators in ClubExpress. And I'm not going to open it because I don't want to spend time doing that. But it's a regular, if you're familiar with communication forums, it operates like any other one. Only your administrator, if you're administrator, you have access to it. But you can ask of other administrators. Our support people monitor this. They will answer questions also. And we prioritize the changes, the updates we make to the website using information we gather from here from our member requests. We have an old style user's guide. Note the date on this is August 15th. This will change on Wednesday next week when we have our next release. So we do quarterly releases. All right, you're welcome to download that. There are a few extra cost modules, typically ones where another club or association has paid us to build something specific for them, and then we have to provide them a royalty when we turn it on for others. And they're typically things that are very specialized that you may or may not need, but you can look at those at your leisure. So with that, I will stop and open this up to any questions you might have.
So anybody that wants to ask a question, just unmute your microphone and talk to Bob. Yaakov, that you?
Yes, it's me. Most of your presentation, unfortunately, it was not built for fund association. So many of the features are not being used by our association or other associations.
Yeah. So, Yaakov, in your case,
Yaakov's breaking up, so I'm going to mute Yaakov's.
Okay. And Yaakov, I got the gist of what you were saying. So in your case, if I because you and I don't think we've talked directly before, but we've emailed back and forth a number of times. We do support groups like yours. I'm not going to go into what it is in a number of different ways. So yes, you still would use things like the sign-up wizard, the membership directory, the committees, the documents. Those things would be of importance to you. We also have something called an Ad-Hoc Form module where as you capture information that your members need, things they need done, we can create a form in here that asks the information you're looking for. It assigns it to somebody. There is an add-on module that's in here that would allow you to capture that and assign a task out to somebody and monitor whether it's been done or not. And there are a number of things. This particular demonstration and overview was done really for more professional level associations, things like medical or CPA associations, but the basic functionality that underlies all of this is the same.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a series of webinars that will drill down onto specific verticals like Chamber of Commerce or some enthusiast clubs, and doing homeowners association or condo associations would be a very good topic. So stay tuned, Yaakov.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, this is Bernie.
Hi, Bernie.
Hey, I'm all about ClubExpress right now after this. I got to get Angie on board.
You're actually on my list to call today, so.
I want to just be sure, and I'm sure this is the case, since a non-member becomes a member, everything converts automatically and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really loving this.
Yeah.
So
let me just real quick. I know
Angie was not able to listen to this, but it's going to be recorded, so she's going to listen to it.
Yeah. So if I want to convert to member, I've got a button here. I can do it manually, or they can find themselves and it'll fill in the information, but all the information moves with them. So anything we've stored in here, their transactions, their payments, their events, their volunteering, anything they've done moves over with them.
Yeah, and Bob, there are two ways to convert somebody to a member. If somebody tries to join and they need approval, then they just put in as a prospective member.
Right.
And what you're talking about here is somebody that was a non-member in the non-member database and converting them to a member. Is that correct? Yeah.
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 So what if they spelled their name wrong or something weird like that? Are we going to end up with a lot of duplicates? And
so here's something that we didn't really go over in this one. So I'm in Martin's profile here. So forget that I'm an administrator. He has no administrative functionality in this. But yeah, one of the advantages of a system like this is if Martin changes his email address from Martin at ClubExpress.com to Bob at ClubExpress.com and changes his company and changes his, he's got access to do all of this. Yaakov, in your case, you may have people that live down in Florida in the winter, but live up north in the summer. So you can capture a secondary address in here. But actually, in this case, we needed a sponsor, and I took that out. Okay. And I just changed Martin Smith's name accidentally. So we'll fix that real fast.
So the point is, Bernie, that either you as an administrator can change that, or most preferably the member can change it. Right. People's names change all the time. People get married and unmarried all the time.
True.
Now, and
so there's a way to do an email to the members once every 6 months. Please review your information and make any updates necessary.
Yes. Actually, when you go live with us, any member in the initial welcome email, one of the standard things is please go into your profile, and there's a link to it, and make sure all of the information is correct and update anything that's needed. And then you can absolutely you can.
Good.
There's also a very cool email thing to say, I want to send an email to all those people that actually have not logged in.
Yes.
And either ever logged in or logged in between a particular date, which I'm doing right now with a theater group for my own local community theater. It's a new group, and a lot of people haven't logged in yet, so we want to remind them that the system is there.
Great.
Anyone else? All right. We are on the hour. I want to thank everybody, and I appreciate the time you gave us. Alan, do you have anything to say to wrap up?
We are doing these overview seminars generally the first Wednesday of the month, and then we do a deep dive typically on the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. We have a special one coming up on the 7.5 release. So we're adding a bunch of new features, and the last time we did this, it capped out at 200 members on the webinar. So get in early, and hopefully we'll see you then. And we hope that these webinars are particularly useful to you, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Now, let me add one thing to what you just said. So you said we're releasing 7.5. I want to translate that to everybody. This is our 49th release of the software. So we've been around since 2003, and we're constantly updating the software. So our regular schedule of major releases are quarterly. So every 3 months, we're putting out new functionality, new modules, improvements to what we do, and throughout the quarter, we're making minor releases all the time based on suggestions from associations or clubs that are part of us. So 7.5 doesn't mean this is the 7th time we're doing a release. This is actually the 49th time we're doing a release.
Yeah, and one thing to remember is because this is software as a service, you don't have to do anything to get the new functionality. It just shows up. And you can, some of these things you have to enable them if it's a new module or so. But there's some very cool things coming, and we look forward to seeing the way people leverage these new tools and how you're using them in your organizations. All right, thank you, everybody. And the video should be posted hopefully within a day or so.
All right. Thanks, everybody.